Hey everybody, Andrew here from Media Ward and welcome to my Doctor Who Weekly Reviews. This week's episode is episode 2 of season 8, Into the Dalek, with the brand new Doctor, of course, Peter Capaldi. This episode is directed by Ben Weasley, of course, he's the first episode. And if you're not familiar with his work, he's done a couple of British films like Sightseers and Kill List. Pretty well done director, an established director, and you can definitely tell his dark nature style, and of course he's allowing his actors to actually act and allow them to do their performances really well. So I think the first 2 episodes so far have been pretty solid for what they are introducing this kind of new Doctor in a sense. This of course is a Dalek story. Now usually Dalek stories can go either way. Matt Smith's very first Dalek story was Victory of the Daleks, which particularly was not a very great one, to be perfectly honest. It had some good ideas, but for a first introduction it wasn't a good mainly because of the issues with redesigning the new Daleks, and of course those Powerpuff Daleks practically have never come back really. Thinking about it, very rarely they've come back. This episode story is nice and tight, I think, relatively short. It's basically the storyline follows the Doctor encountering initially an injured Dalek, in a sense. Dalek that's basically saying it's good, he wants to kill the Daleks, it's in a star being born in space, and it's has a brand new morality and life and humanity and things like that. And he basically gets Clara back from her teaching job and basically saying we need to go into darkness, we need to go inside this Dalek and help it, fix it, be a doctor and help it, things like that. And he basically they both discover aspects of themselves. It's more like the Doctor and the Dalek, in a sense, both discovering who they are as actual people. And you got this kind of fresh new Doctor still. He doesn't quite know who he is really. You think about it, you can still tell that his question is is he a good man? What is his values? What is his purpose? Things like that. And he's very blunt. He's very straightforward. He's very honest, and I like that. It's a very different side of the Doctor we haven't seen before, and it's a very different side of the Dalek we haven't seen before, which made it a better Dalek story than most of the ones we've had in the past with the new seasons and pretty much old seasons, definitely for sure. And it still managed to keep a single Dalek story kind of fresh, and still managed to tell something a bit different, because the Daleks have become a bit weak. My favourite Dalek story of the new season will be, of course, is the Silent Daleks. I still think that's one of the best episodes of single Dalek stories from Matt Smith's season 7. And I think it's very risky now bringing the Daleks constantly back all the time. You've got to be very careful on what stories you want to approach, because they're not, you've had the best stories now, I think, perfectly honest, and this one managed to touch him, this side of the Dalek. Can you have a good Dalek? Is there such a thing as a good Dalek? Can you change the morality of it, things like that? And again, the Dalek, again with the Doctor having, looking into his soul, there is beauty, perfection, and there is hatred. The Doctor hates these Daleks. He's been facing them since the very, very beginning, and by the end of the episode, that's what it's become as. The Doctor is a good Dalek in a sense. He is someone that tries to be a good person, but he is more deadly and more dangerous than any Dalek ever will be, in a sense. He will rip on apart. He will basically destroy you, in a sense. He is the oncoming storm, and I really like that, and I really like both sides of the story. I thought it was quite interesting. Clara's angle was a little bit more in it. She was just kind of I'm here kind of thing, like that. They give it a little bit more towards the end of the episode, making the Doctor realise it, but I just felt like she didn't actually need to be there. Technically, this could have been a solo story with the soldiers and him. They mainly kind of had her to kind of introduce Danny Pink's character, which is meant to be the new companion of this series, which is interesting because he's an ex-soldier. I think it'd be interesting to see how an ex-soldier works with the Doctor, being the fact the Doctor doesn't like soldiers, and he actually turned down a companion in this episode. I thought it was quite interesting. So I'm curious to see how that goes about. And Danny Pink's character seems quite interesting for a first introduction. He's someone that's obviously been through some trouble events, through some war situations, and he seems quite security himself, doesn't let people in too much, things like that. So I'm curious to see how they bring him into a bit more in the later episodes, and how he joins the Doctor Who companion world. A couple of things worth mentioning also I felt was quite interesting is the fact the Doctor actually gave one of the soldiers basically like a tracking kind of like radiation tracking device, and basically saying he was already dead, you know, there's nothing he could do, just saving us. I felt that was a really like brute, cold moment for the Doctor, especially this new Doctor, and just to say like, oh, he's automatically, you know, screwed practically, so we're going to try and save ourselves. You know, it's one of those decisions where like, wow, I think Matt Smith maybe or David Tennant would have been, they would have approached that maybe a very different way, I suppose. You know, I think he was a bit more realistic and believable in the sense of like, yeah, the Doctor can't save everybody, but he is going to try his best, and he tries to be a good person, and you know, when he can't save him, he knows he can't, then he tries to save everybody else in the room, and I really liked that. I thought it was interesting, and that was quite a very blunt, straightforward moment to that episode. That actually did surprise me in all fairness. And one of the other angles on this in as well, they can keep introducing is this kind of this character called Missy. She was in the first episode, the end of it, and it seemed like there's kind of a bit of a theme going now, like the android that basically like jumped out of the actual like spaceship, you know, ended up in kind of like, you know, paradise, heaven, as you saw it, and the woman that sacrificed herself, you know, basically just to get the, you know, Clara and the other soldier, you know, up top in a sense, you know, she sacrificed herself and she ended up in heaven as well, or paradise with Missy. So I'm curious to see what's happening there. I mean, is she taking people from different points in time and space, you know, people that may be directly affected by the Doctor? I don't know, maybe these characters will come back, possibly. You know, I'm really curious to see what they do with this character, this Missy character, and her importance to the season finale for sure. I thought it was a little bit slow. The first half an hour I felt was really dragging its heels, definitely for sure, and I'm really glad it got picked up and actually made it a bit more of a worthwhile episode. It was decent enough, but I'm hoping the next episode really comes a bit more outstanding, and hope they really dive into a bit more of a, you know, a bit more of an action episode, a bit more of an adventure episode. So that's my thoughts and opinions, folks. Hope you enjoy watching this review. What did you think of Into the Dalek? Do you think it was a good episode? Do you think it's well? Love to know your opinions. Comment down below. I'm looking forward to the next episode with Robin Hood. What do you think of that, folks? In the meantime, I'm from TV. Signing out.